Welcome back to the channel, Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at the official MetaWatch and unpacking the new Battlescroll for Warhammer Age of Sigmar. Welcome back to the Age of Sigmar MetaWatch from the Warhammer Studio. We know you've been eagerly awaiting the new Battlescroll, so without further ado, here it is. So we'll check that out in just a sec. We're going to do the quick little overview of everything that happened. First thing you'll notice is with this Battlescroll is that we've tweaked the format a bit, carrying forward any rules changes from previous Battlescrolls that are still in effect. And future Battlescroll changes will be handled as follows. So there will only ever be one active Battlescroll at a time. That's how it should be. Rules changes will be carried forward until they have been printed into a book. Core rules changes from the Battlescroll, Gods and Heroes have now been printed in the latest General's Handbook. So it makes sense. New rules changes will be highlighted in magenta. That's very important. It'll be easy to see what has changed when you're looking at the whole document. Points changes will be summarized, but not be carried forward into future Battlescrolls, as they will be implemented in the Age of Sigmar app and War Scroll Builder. So that makes sense. They're going to basically have all the points updates for free. All changes, including points, will be included in errata documents for the appropriate factions available here. So you can always check out like the FAQ errata and get any active points changes. So I do like that. I think the biggest thing for me is there's only ever going to be one active Battlescroll at a time, and that the new rules will be highlighted in magenta so it's easy to see. Very important. As we explained in the previous installment of MetaWatch, we have three primary short-term goals for balance in competitive play in Warhammer Age of Sigmar. So external balance, all factions should have a win rate between 45 and 55%. Internal balance, at least 60% of war scrolls should be used in at least 5% of army rosters. And universal options. Universal war scrolls such as endless spells and incarnates and universal enhancements should be used in under 10% of army rosters. These goals are in priority order, and we're careful to try not to change too many variables at once so that we can isolate and measure which changes are having what effect. So very important. I like that they have stated that. That is very, very important with statistics. Don't change too many things at a time or you're not going to know exactly what changed it. So we saw the Battlescroll here. Obviously, Beasts of Chaos still up here at the top, 61%. Daughters of Khaine, 58%. Disciples of Tzeentch, 58%. Maggotkin of Nurgle, 57%. And then Sons of Behemat, Bone Spitters, and Seraphon, all at 56%. And then we see everybody else in the acceptable range, all the way down to the underperformers at 44%, Hedonites of Slaanesh. And then at 42, we have Slaves to Darkness, Ogre Maw Tribes. Both those are about to get new codexes or getting, in the process of getting new codexes. So that doesn't surprise me. They're probably not going to change much, but the new codex should boost them up. And then we have the Osiarch Bonereapers at 42, and then Kruleboyz in last place at 40. So very, very bad. Kruleboyz obviously terrible. And they have made comments before about like Space Marines stats typically don't look that good because that's a lot of people's first armies. I think that's the case for Stormcast and Kruleboyz alike. So here's a specific example where that argument is kind of like, no, actually the army's just probably not that good. Because again, Stormcast Eternals up here at 48, Kruleboyz down here at 40. Both of them came in the starter set. Both of them have a lot of, big lines and lots of options. They're just, obviously Kruleboyz are not that good right now. And that is why they are so horribly behind. But that being said, obviously some big deviations from the list. We see now 5 underperformers, and we see up here 7 overperformers. So there's 7 armies that are too strong and 5 that are too weak, and then right smack in the middle, is the blunt of them. As shown in the graph above, we currently have a handful of factions outside of our target win rate, and we have made targeted adjustments in this Battlescroll to try to bring their win rate in line. These factions tend to fall into one of the following categories. 1. Consistent strength. Maggotkin of Nurgle, Beasts of Chaos, Sons of Behemat, Bone Spitters, and Seraphon have consistently been near the top of the standings over the past months. Seraphon win rates have recently dropped, but there are a couple of sub-factions, Fangs of Sotek and Thunder Lizard, that are still overperforming by significant margins and pushing the overall win rate above 55%. We've applied some targeted points increases based on unit inclusion and per unit win rates to Maggotkin of Nurgle, Bone Splitters, Seraphon, and Beasts of Chaos. We have also tweaked the Primal Roar Monstrous Rampage to generate fewer primordial call points to reduce Beasts of Chaos summoning capacity. Sons of Behemat have just received a brand new battle tome, so we'll wait and see how it impacts their external win rate before making any adjustments. So again, I like that. New book just came out, let it play out for a little bit, and then see what happens. It's literally the opposite of what they took in 40k with Leagues of Votann. Very interesting. Maybe they've learned from their mistakes, or, maybe they're just hypocrites. I don't know. We'll see. 2. Krondspine combos. A few factions have recently surged in the rankings thanks to an increase in rosters that have made particularly effective use of the Krondspine Incarnate, most notably Daughters of Khaine and Disciples of tzeentch. We applied a significant points increase, plus 80, to the Krondspine Incarnate to help bring it within our universal options targets, which should help target these builds. We're keeping a close eye on both factions. So the only problem with that, though, is now everybody taking the Krondspine Incarnate is paying 80 more points for it, and it was 400 before, so this is a substantial increase because of Daughters of Khaine and Disciples of tzeentch. But again, does not surprise me that the new toy is a little too powerful, and then they come in a couple months later and, smack it with a 20% point increase. Not what you want to see, though, for those factions that were using it effectively, but not broken. So 3 is underperforming factions. Gloomspite gets Ogre Maw Tribes, Heed Knights of Slaanesh, Osiarch Bonereapers, Slaves to Darkness, and Kruleboyz are currently underperforming relative to our targets. Most of these factions are getting some significant point breaks in this update, while Slaves of Darkness will earn a big boost from their shiny new battle tome. Kruleboyz in particular are getting points drops across numerous popular war scrolls, and there's also a change to the Swamp College Shaman to allow them to use their powerful spell lore and still buff nearby units with their deadly poisons. Internal balance. While our top priority has been external balance, we've also taken our first steps towards improving internal balance, starting with those factions with the most war scrolls which don't see much use in competitive play. It is important for us to avoid negative knock-on impacts, so we'll be making a limited set of adjustments to target units and measuring the results before proceeding with the next group. For this battle scroll, we've chosen to focus on Stormcast Eternals, Cities of Sigmar, Soulbite Gravelords, Skaven, and Seraphon. There are points reductions to a series of underused war scrolls, providing new options for building rosters. So that's good. I mean, internal balance is very good because you want to see diversity within the faction, not just different factions, but you don't want every Stormcast Eternal army to be the same, etc. So, as our largest battle tome, Stormcast Eternals have had numerous reductions. Krondis and Karazai lose 50 points each, while Annihilators, Praetors, Vigilers, and Vanquishers all see drops. So then for universal options, last month we tweaked the Purple Sun of Shyish, and we're happy to report that we've seen a 35% reduction in inclusion since. Purple Sun is now getting a 15% inclusion rate over the past 60 days, still above our target, but now trending downwards. So they nerfed it and it worked. The nerf worked. Congratulations. Krondspine Incarnates of Gur is currently included in 12.2% of rosters, but the average win rate for armies which include it was 58%, so we've increased its points cost. So I guess, maybe they have balanced it a little bit more, and some of those armies will have to overpay the price because they don't have like the synergy with it, as opposed to some of the ones that are kind of using it to its full effect, obviously going to be on the higher end of the nerf. So maybe that was good. 58% just in general, if you take the Krondspine, is pretty high and tells you something's going on there. So we've also made a handful of smaller adjustments to the Chronomatic Cogs, Laukan the Soul Seeker, and the Umbral Spell Portal to help bring them within our targets. We're keeping an eye on the Horrorghast and Ravenex Gnashing Jaws, which will comfortably within our inclusion targets appear to have strong win rates. So not a ton of people are taking them, but if you take them, you're overperforming, which means probably there's some synergy there or they're just really good. Next steps. We're going to be in for an exciting few months of change. The new battle tomes have recently landed for Disciples of tzeentch, Lumineth Realm Lords, and Sons of Behemat, while Ogre Maw Tribes and Slaves to Darkness are coming soon. One important note to make sure that events are as fair as possible: limited release battle tomes such as the special edition including in the upcoming Slaves to Darkness army set will not be considered legal for match play at Games Workshop events until the battle tome goes on general release and the rules are broadly available to all players. The Warhammer Age of Sigmar app and War Scroll Builder sites will continue to display the previous rules until then. So that does make sense. Wait till everybody has full access to it, and then after that, anyone can bring it to the tournaments. I do like that. We're excited to see how the rankings evolve over the remainder of the season, and we'll continue to update you as the state of the meta along the way. Thanks to everyone who sent in questions and comments after the last article. We're building a list and we'll dig it into the answer questions in the next installment of MetaWatch. Alright, so the October Battlescroll update summary, all the latest changes in one place. So Beasts of Chaos changed the Primal Roar Monstrous Rampage from the White Dwarf that buffed them, issue 473. Roll a dice. On a 3-up, you receive 1 Primordial Call Point, instead of just automatically getting it. Kruleboyz, Swamp Caller Shaman, and Grot remove the text from the Poisons and Elixirs ability, instead of attempting to dispel an endless spell or cast any spells with this unit in that phase. So now, it can do both. It can use the elixirs and the poisons, but it can still attempt to dispel endless spells or cast spells. Gloomspite Gits add the following to the notes section of the Arachnorek Spider with Spiderfang War Party Pitch Battle profile. Battle line, if general, is Spiderfang. Endless Spells. Purple Sun of Shaish changed the end given form ability to subtract 1 from save rolls for attacks and targets units within 6 inches of the endless spell. In addition, roll a dice for each unit within 1 inch of the endless spell after the endless spell has moved. On a 1, that unit has been touched by the Purple Sun's rays. If that unit has a wounds characteristic of 9 or less, 1 model in the unit is slain. Otherwise, that unit suffers a d6 plus 6 mortal wounds. So this was the old change from before. They're just putting it on here. Alright, and then here we have the Battlescroll. So October 2022. Changes for the previous Battlescrolls are highlighted in magenta. So Purple Sun of Shaish, we just went through that one. Stormcast Eternals, Grand Alliance Order. So got a couple things going on here. You guys can check all this out in detail. We see, okay, so here's the new change. Change the Primal Roar Monstrous Rampage. You know, that's what we just saw. So it is the new changes, and then ones that are being carried over as well, it appears, are in magenta. So here we see the Gloomspite Gits, the Swamp Caller Shaman, and Grot. And then here we see the actual points. So let's take a look at this. So they basically said what they were focusing on. So we have for Cities of Sigmar, you can see some point cuts. For Stormcast Eternals, we see point cuts. For He Knights of Slaanesh, point cuts. Skaven, point cuts. Gloomspite Gits, point cuts. And then Flesh Eater Courts, a couple point cuts. Orruk War Clans, mostly point cuts, but a couple increases. And then Bonereapers, also point cuts. And then we see mostly increases for Seraphon with a couple decreases. A couple of increases on the orruks, and then we see only increases for the Beasts of Chaos, the Maggotkin of Nurgle, and then the additional profiles. Obviously, the biggest of all of these is the Krondspine Incarnate of Gur, up 80 points. Not a lot of massive points changes otherwise. We did see the dragons for the Stormcast going down by 50 points. That is definitely a big deal. The Krondspine at 80, the dragons at 50, and then we see a couple like 30s here and there, but nothing like crazy, substantial, game-changing, I don't think. So there you have the basics. You guys can obviously check all this out. I'll have the links down below if you want to look at this for yourself. We will see how this all balances out. Let me know what you think. Did they miss anything here? Is there some changes you would have made yourself? Or, should some things have gone down in points or something else gone up? Always like to hear your guys' opinion. Many of you are much more versed in Warhammer Fantasy Battles or Age of Sigmar, whatever you want to call it, than I am. I'm an OG Warhammer player. But I stick more to 40k and now skirmish games. I love warcry and obviously Kill Team as well. But that's going to wrap it up for today. If you do enjoy these types of videos, these reactions, reviews, and news, painting, modeling, and conversion tutorials for everything from Warhammer 40,000, Kill Team, Necromunda, Age of Sigmar, Warcry, Horus Heresy, pretty much any of the Games Workshop tabletop games, make sure to like and subscribe. Really helps out the channel. But that's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm out of here.